Hello everybody, welcome again to another YouTube video tutorial on Blender 2.49. Now in this video tutorial I'm going to show you how to set up image references to model a subject like this, a sports car. Okay, so the method I'm using is very different from the one used in Blender. I'm going to show you the differences and I'm going to let you know why I prefer this method than the traditional Blender method. Now, using this method, what I do is I create all these meshes and I texture map an image and then I position it so that I can use it as a reference. So if I quickly change it to the front view, the side view and top view, okay, I can get very good image references to model. Now why do I prefer this method? Okay, let me show you the previous method. Now, the older method involves opening up the background image window here under view background image, and you'll have to go and locate an image to be used as a reference. Okay, let's open up a the Mix 17 blueprint which I've prepared. And the problem with this method is that although I can adjust it manually like this, right now in my top orthographic view, I can offset it. Okay, I can reduce the blend so that it shows up much clearer. But the problem is this: when I tumble it, the image disappears. And if I were to switch to a side view, okay, I have to realign this, or I have to create another image to rotate it to face the direction which I want. And the problem with the traditional method is there's no rotate function here. Okay, there is a scale here, but it's not very useful for me. So I'll prefer to have a transform tools which I can manually move, rotate or scale so that to get all my references correct. And if I tumble in 3D view, all the references disappear, and this makes it difficult for me to align to get a perfect view. I mean, I've seen examples where some people use 3 different images to align, but to me that just takes a long time to set up, and that's why I don't really like to use this method. So now I'm going to show you how I set it up using the method I prefer. Now before I do that, I'm going to show you the other examples which I use to create the models. Now you guys already seen the Lamborghini sports car. Okay, now you can obviously see the advantage here. I can see the image planes very clearly. Alright, and I can actually physically move the planes. Okay, I can select the image plane and then move them around and use it to align, okay, if I want. Alright, so you can't do that with the show background image function. Okay, so this is the car which I did. I'm going to show you other examples. Okay, I use it to model aircraft and one of my favorite subjects. Okay, and also another car. Alright, okay, this is another jet plane which I modeled using this method. Okay, and of course one of the more popular subjects on the internet. Okay, I got a lot of requests from people asking me how do I model a gun. Okay, so a lot of the tutorials I see on YouTube uses the view and show the background image. Now for this model, unfortunately I don't have the front view and or the top view, so a lot of it depends on guesswork and downloading a lot of reference images which I can study. So this one obviously you can see is still a work in progress. Okay, so now I'm going to show you, you can use it to model. Okay, this is the F-22. Okay, so those of you who do not want to draw guidelines, and if your reference is accurate enough, you can bring the images in straight away and model it. Okay, I'm going to show you a few more. Well, actually just one more. Okay, so this is a Mix 17 and you can bring in blueprint type images. In fact, I'm going to show you how to prepare your images that you downloaded from the internet, blueprints, 3 views, so they can use it to model your subject. Right, so first let's start by going to GIMP, And I'm going to, let me just minimize all these Blender windows so they can see the shortcuts, okay, the shortcut buttons here. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the original 3-view drawing which I've downloaded from the internet, and I'm going to tell you some of the pitfalls that you might meet when you are using images that you've sourced from the internet. So let's start by opening the image. Okay, so this is the original image which I found on the internet. Now this is a GIF image. It is an indexed image, meaning that the colors are limited to only like black and white. So if we want to draw guidelines on it, we need to convert this GIF image into a JPEG image first. So what I need to do is I need to go to image mode and change it into a RGB image. So now I can save it as a JPEG if I want to. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is I'll inspect this image. I notice that the tip of this vertical stabilizer is touching the edge. I want to increase the size of the canvas. So I'll go to image, canvas size, and then the width I'm going to increase it to maybe 900, and then hit center. Then the resize layers, I'm going to use all visible layers and hit resize. Okay, so now there's a bit more space here that we can work with. Next, what I want to do is I want to rotate this 90 degrees. So I go to image again, transform, rotate 90 degrees clockwise. Okay, so alright, so maybe I want to minimize this window a little bit so that I can access the tools. Now you can use Photoshop for the same things. Photoshop pretty much has all the same tools as GIMP. Okay, so this is for people who don't really have Photoshop, so GIMP is a good free alternative. Okay, so next I want to do is okay, there's a lot of empty space here, so I'm going to do some cropping. I'm going to crop this because I do not want the image to be too big. Okay, so now let's take a look at this image here. Before I start to draw the strokes or the guidelines, I have to pull down some guides. Okay, just go to the ruler. Okay, the ruler top on here, just pull it down and make sure your cursor is within the image. Oh yeah, I have hidden my guides, so I need to show my guides. Okay, I got 2 guides here, now I'm gonna get rid of it. Okay, so move your cursor to the ruler edge here and pull out the guides here. Now it is quite apparent that if your image reference is like not rotated properly, once you pull the guides, especially for this front view here, you can see very clearly. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in and show you. You can see very clearly that this image here already has some problems. Okay, it's already rotated slightly off, so we have to fix this image reference. Okay, so we're gonna fix this image reference by finding out what's the degree that this thing is rotated wrong. So there's a very useful tool here called the measure tool. So I click on the measure tool. So to do that, I just click on the wingtip and click and drag and until to the next wingtip. Make sure it's the same position and release. And you can see that this plane is rotated about 1.08 degrees clockwise. Okay, so I'll remember this figure is 1.08. Okay, next is I want to cut this layer out. Okay. Oh yeah, for this measure window to appear, make sure you check on this box when you're in the tools, the measurement tool. Check it on, then this floating box will appear. So I'm going to close this now. So now I'm going to select this image and rotate it. So I'm going to use the lasso tool and make sure I select it. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut it out. And I'm going to paste as a separate layer. Okay, I'll have to bring this back in again. Okay, you can use your cursor to realign back. So now it's a floating layer. Okay, and I can use the transform tool, the rotate tool. So click on the layer, and remember the value just now was 1.08, so I'm going to type negative 1.08 and then just hit rotate. So once that is done, you notice that now the image is straightened for the front view. Okay, so now I can click on the anchor, the floating layer, so that now it doesn't move. And I can flatten this image now, flatten it. Okay, so it's back to the same master layer again. So now I'm gonna zoom back out again, press Z, hold down to control. And zoom out. Okay, so now we can start to do our stroke lines. Okay, so I'm going to draw more guidelines. So make sure you turn on the snap to guides under view, so that you can so that when you are doing the selection, it's gonna snap to these boxes. You can draw as many guides as you want, so make sure that it follows the tips of the model that you are going to model. Alright, I hope I'm making sense here. Anyway, so I think that's enough guidelines for. Okay, wait, the nose of the plane, I like to have a guideline here. Alright, so now we can start to stroke. Alright, maybe just one more guideline to the tip here, top of the stabilizer. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the rectangular box selection. I'm going to change the color swatch here to red. Okay, and I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call the layer guidelines. Alright, so then you can click OK. So now you got an empty layer called guidelines. So this is what we're going to draw on. So go to your rectangular box selection and then start to click and drag so that you can draw a box. So you notice that the selection box right will hit the guides. Alright, then you go to edit and stroke the selection. I find that for this image of this size, line width of 2 pixels is good enough. So I'm going to use the red color, the solid color, and then I'm going to stroke. Okay, and then press Ctrl Shift A to deselect. I'm going to stroke half of this plane here. Edit and stroke again. Stroke. Ctrl Shift A to deselect. I'm going to stroke here. Control. Nope. Wait, I need to apply the stroke. Edit stroke first. Stroke. Ctrl Shift A to deselect. And I'll just keep it simple. You can keep on drawing as many guidelines as you want. So I'm going to temporarily hide the guides. Show the guides. Okay, so you can see these are the guidelines that I've drawn. Okay, so these lines will help you to align your image plane later when you bring it into Blender. So I can flatten this image. Once you're happy with this, you can flatten it. Alright, I'm going to save it as default, looking like this. So file, save as. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. I'm going to save it into the tutorials folder. So I'll call it Make 15. Extension type is JPEG. And give it a name so that it's more obvious. Make 15 underscore with guides, and then save. Okay, he's going to ask you what's a quality compression. I'm going to use the default. Okay, so I've saved one image. Now I'm going to save another image. Now I'm just going to change the look of it. So I'm going to go to colors, and I'm going to invert it. Alright, some of you might prefer to model using this tile color scheme. Alright, you can even colorize it. Okay, I found that you can colorize it to give it a sort of a blueprint look, and I devised a setting. Okay, I already got a preset here. I'm going to use my blueprint, and then click OK. So now I'm going to save this image. File, save as. So with guides, but this one I'm going to save it as a blueprint. use the defaults. Okay, so basically we are done preparing the image. Now I'm going to show you how to bring it into Blender. So let's open up an empty copy of Blender. I'm going to reset this scene. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is get rid of the default cube and create a plane. Now this plane will be used as your image reference for modeling. Now there's several things you need to do first before you stick an image onto this plane. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to split this viewport into two, and the viewport on the right I'm going to change it into a UV/image editor. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply UV mapping into this plane first, this image plane. Now this image plane doesn't have anything on it now, so I'm going to edit mode. Okay, when I'm going to edit mode, okay, everything is selected. I'm going to press U and just select the unwrap. So when you do that, it should use up all the texture space over here. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is you want to assign a material, okay, to this object here. So I'm going to click on the buttons, the shading button here under the buttons panel. Then I'm going to add a new material. Alright, and then for this new material I'm going to add a texture, and for the texture is going to be applied to the UV. Okay, next I'm going to click on the texture buttons, and I'm going to specify the texture as an image, and then I'm going to load the blueprint which we have prepared. So let's look for it. So I'm going to use the default first, the Make 15 with guides. So middle mouse click. So now it's loaded. I can come over here and I can click on this button here, up and down, the browse existing choices button, and I can select it, and you can see the image will automatically fill up the entire texture space. Now we can't see anything here yet because we need to switch in the viewport, switch it to textured view. Okay, so although you can see the plane, but you notice something is very wrong. The image here is rectangular, whereas the plane is square, because that's the original shape when you created it. So how do you make it to conform to this aspect ratio? Well, all you have to do is go to object mode and then switch to click on the object button here, select transform, and then select scale to image aspect ratio, and you will automatically scale to match the aspect ratio of this image. So essentially now you have your image reference ready, and now I'll show you how to prepare this. Okay, so normally when you apply this, you notice that right below it is transparent. You can only view the image on top. Ideally you want to have both sides showing the texture. So to do that is pretty simple. So make sure you select the plane, and then you go to edit mode. Alright, and under the editing button here, there's a sub panel called texture face. So under the texture face, make sure you select the button to side. So when this button is activated, if you look at the bottom, now both sides are selected. Okay, and also in the materials department, if you want the image to show clearly all the time without being affected by the lights, okay, my advice would be to click on the button here, change the settings to shadeless. Okay, when it is shadeless, it's now not affected by any illumination, so the brightness is always constant. Okay, so now we have one of the image plane prepared and the two-sided turned on, so you can flip the image if you want. So let's start by going to the top view first. Alright, so I'm pressing number 7 numpad in the top view. So I'm going to rotate, select and rotate 90 degrees, and here's where the guidelines are very useful. Okay, so if you can, my advice would be to draw the guidelines, the whole red guideline, until it starts from the edge of the image right to the end. So I forgot to do that just now, but to make your life easier so that you can use these as a guide. Alright, so right now I'm just eyeballing this. So I'm going to pull this image until the top view is right at the center here. Okay, so my top view is now aligned. Okay, I'm going to pull this down, or you can go to, the good thing is you can go to 3D view, just tumble around, and then you can eyeball this. Okay, move it until the green line cuts across it. But problem is when you're in full orthographic view, the green line disappears. So you need to offset a little bit. Then you can see the green line here. The green line represents the y-axis, by the way. Okay, so now we have the top view aligned, so we can just push it down. Next, you press Shift D to duplicate another image plane. And I right mouse click so it snaps back. So I just grab the arrow and pull it out again. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Press R followed by Y. Then type 90. Then I'm going to press R followed by Z. Then 90 again. Okay, so now I'm going to push this back. This will be my front view. So to my front view, if you press number 1, it should go to your front. And I'm going to grab the arrow and you just push it to the side. So again, if you draw a guideline all the way through, it'll be easier to match it to this blue line here. Okay, so I'm going to rotate, I'm going to tumble this a bit. And I'm going to bring this down so that it is at the same location. Okay, so using the guidelines, so this is where the guideline comes in useful. So now the guideline is aligned to the green line here, okay, which represents the y-axis. So my front view is now aligned, so I can push this behind. Now for the side view, I'm going to select this front view plane, press Shift D to duplicate another plane. Okay, I'm going to press X so that I can push it to the x-axis. Press R followed by Z, then rotate 90 degrees. And then I'm going to use the arrow, I'm going to pull it back in. Okay, so now how to align this? So I'm going to push this back. I'm going to pull this image plane until it cuts into my top view. So you can actually manually use your eye to move the image plane until they are completely aligned. So that's where your red lines come in useful. So I'm going to eyeball this again. And it seems that, yep, it is aligned. Okay, but it is not aligned to my front view, so my top view and the side view is actually aligned now, so I can pull this thing up. So now to make sure that this side view is aligned to the front view, I'm going to grab the front view, I'm going to pull it all the way in, and okay, I already know my front view is aligned, so I'm going to select this and pull it down a little bit. Okay, now I'm selecting this front view, so I'll just push it in now. The top of the canopy matches the top of the canopy in the side view here, so now I know they are aligned. So I push this back, select this side plane, and I'm going to push it back, and I'm going to select this, I'm going to push it back down here. Alright, so essentially I have now prepared my image planes, and you can actually start modeling. Alright, now if this is the thing is, if all these three planes are very confusing, there's one way you can do is to cut away all the unnecessary images. So I'm going to show you how to do it for one of the planes. So I select one of the planes here. This is the side view, so I press number 3, it should show me the side view. So how do you get rid of the other images? First, you go to edit mode, and now in this case you cannot use a loop cut. If you use a loop cut, Ctrl R and cut, it will distort the reference image, so I don't normally use that. What I use is the cutting tool, press K to bring the cut menu, and I'm going to use exact. Then I'm going to come to the area which I want to cut, just click, and then middle mouse click, and then you cut into a straight line, and then click again to cut. So now I can go to face mode, I can select the top face, X to delete only away the faces. Now I need to get rid of this section. So select the bottom face, press K, select exact, and then cut across, middle mouse click, so cut straight, press enter. Now I got two faces here, I'm going to select the face here, press X and delete away the face. So now I've got only the side view, so I know that, oh, this is the side view, it's very obvious. Next is I want to lock this reference. So press N to bring up your transform properties, and you can click on the lock symbol so that even though if you accidentally select it, you won't be able to move the reference. The reference is now stuck in this space. Okay, so you can continue to cut away the other images if you feel that you don't need it, but if you can work with all these planes, then that's fine. So press 1, this will be a front view, press 3 will be a side view, and press 7 will be a top view. And you can actually start modeling right now. So all you have to do is tap the spacebar, add a cube, okay, mesh, cube, okay, and you'll notice we have a problem right now, okay, because everything is shown in textured mode. Right now we can't even see through the cube. So how are we going to use this effectively? Well, there's a way around this. You can force the cube to be displayed only in wireframe mode. Now to do that, make sure you select the cube, okay, and then go to the click on this object button here, and under the draw type, the draw sub panel here, there's a lot of selections that you can choose. I can force it to be displayed in solid or wireframe. So right now you see the cube is in wireframe form, and if you are editing it, it gives you this nice transparent look, which is perfect for modeling under these circumstances. So right now I'm in edit mode. I'm going to just scale the cube down, and then I'm going to split the cube into half. Now I'm not going to show you how to model this from beginning to end, because you can watch my other jet plane modeling tutorials, and essentially the method is the same. So I think those of you who have seen my videos will know that I prefer to use the mirror modifier with do clipping on it. So now with this basic shape, I can select all the subcomponents, scale along the z-axis, scale along the y-axis. Now the MiG is a relatively simple plane, so or a simple aircraft, so you can actually start to model this very quickly. So I can now change the front view, scale along the x-axis. Okay, Control R to add maybe a couple of subdivisions here, and Control R, add a loop cut here, then maybe go to face mode and select these faces and scale it down, go to the side view, Control R, cut it. I'm just gonna do quickly the body first, just to show you guys how easily you can do this. Okay, so in order for the wings to come out, you need to insert another edge loop here, insert another edge loop maybe around here. So I need to go to the top view for the reference to find out where is the wing root. So the wing root is here, so I'm gonna switch to edge mode, select the edge loop here, Alt right mouse click, okay, and then basically the edge root is now selected. Okay, I'm just gonna show you quickly. I'm gonna extrude the wing and scale along the y-axis, then scale along the z-axis, go to the top view, grab and move, and essentially you can just carry on adding all the detail and start to model this. Now for some reason, if you find that the background reference is too bright, so remember the blueprint image that we have created. So all you have to do is select one of the image planes. Because all these planes are assigned with the same material, just go back to the material button here and click on the texture button. Go to the image and just simply go and open up the blueprint image. Okay, and just reload this. And click on this button here and select. Now because we loaded up the blueprint, you just click on blueprint and the image plane. Okay, if you want it to show, you have to go to edit mode first. Alright, select one of the image plane, go to edit mode. I forgot to tell you about that. Then change it into the blueprint. Okay, you can do that the same for the rest. Okay, I need to go to edit mode. And the same thing here, edit mode, change it into the blueprint version. Okay, apparently it didn't work for this one because I already edited this. But well, anyway, this is another method to change the background image if you're not happy with it. Okay, so once you keep on tweaking, eventually you will reach this stage. Alright, and essentially this is how you do it. Right, remember now it's in shaded mode, I can't see through it, so just go to click on this object button and change it to wireframe. Okay, so you can easily see through the plane. Now if your models get very complex, you can use other tools to help you. For example, if you're in the front view and then you see all this geometry that is blocking your view, and you just want to concentrate on a certain section of the plane, for example, let's say the front part of the plane, you can use this tool. Okay, I'm going to the side view. You can use this tool called set clipping border. Okay, set the clipping border, and then you can clip only the section you want to edit, and now you can see only the section that you want to work with. Okay, so this is a very useful tool. Alright, okay, but if you want your reference to be close, okay, for example, right now when I clip, right now my front view has disappeared as well. So let me get out of the clipping mode. Okay, so I'm going to select this image plane and just bring it very close, so that let's say you just want to concentrate on working the front of the plane. Okay, and then I'm going to use the set clipping mode again, Alt B, and then just going to grab this section here. So now you see the geometry from the wings is not affecting the front section. So this clipping mode, this the clipping border mode is very useful if you want to concentrate on certain sections of your model. So essentially that's it. This is how I normally bring in the images to model my my 3D models, and I hope you try this method. And actually this method is nothing new. I've been using this method previously in 3D Studio Max, then I adapted it for Maya, and now just it's just another evolution for me to adapt it to use in Blender. And really personally I find that this method is far more superior compared to the traditional method, okay, which is to view the background image method, which I don't really like to use. Well, the only use that I find for background image that is very useful is like when I'm doing animation, I can use it to load an animation clip, and as I scrub the timeline I can use it for reference, and or for my visual effects work. But other than that, I tend not to use the background image for my image reference when I'm doing my models. So I hope you guys can try this out yourself. Okay, so remember, you can actually change the look of your the model. So if you want to see through this, all you have to do is to click on the object button here, and under the draw type just make it wireframe. So right now you can see through the blueprint and you can edit it easily. Alright, you can still see the reference right behind. So now everybody just go ahead and try this method. I hope you like this video, and I hope you learned something today from watching this tutorial. Okay, thanks again for watching this video tutorial. I hope you guys can subscribe to my channel, and I'll continue to make more videos for you guys.